All right, now that we have our 3 tests set up, I like to make sure they're going to work by testing them on something that's not our sample, right? And so I just cut out a little piece of finger from a glove, and that will work pretty well for us just to make sure that we have the test working as corrected. And so the way we do this is I have a little foot pedal to control the hydraulics. So I'm going to use the tweezers to put this glove in here. So we grab that, and now I have to lower this down so it can fit into the other grip. Okay, so our sample's in there. Now we want to test our method. So what we want to do is go back to the Blue Hill screen, and we will run the test. Okay, and it's asking us which one we want to do. I'll start with hysteresis. Hit next. Okay, it wants us to know what the sample file name. We'll just give it a name to let us know it's a test. All right, and so before we get tested, like I think we're pretty close, I want to go ahead and set. So you can see right now our extension is set to negative 24.5. You know, it'll run the test if we leave it like that. It's totally fine. But we're going to go ahead and just set it to 0 by resetting gauge lengths just to make sure. And then we're going to go ahead and balance the load cell to 0 that out as well. And so one thing I like to do then to make sure we're not, like we don't have slack in the system, is I'm just going to kind of hit up a little bit on the load cell. Okay, and so you can see the load is increasing a little bit as the extension increases. And so one thing that always confuses me is what the load is, whether it's positive or negative. And so you can see as I go up and increase the extension and stretch it, the load is positive. Okay, so I'm going to go back down. And so what that tells me is I screwed up our end of test results on all the methods I just made. Okay, so I wanted to show you this actually. I didn't delete and redo the videos because I wanted to show you this because even I make this mistake. So I'm just going to say finish this, and I'm going to say no to that. I want to go back to all my methods. Okay, so I want to load my hysteresis method. And so one of the things in control here, or end of test, was I set my load to negative 80, but I need to set that to positive 80. So I'm going to save and close. I'm going to open my stress relaxation. End of test. We need positive 80. Like I said, this is just to protect the load cell, but it's an important thing to do. And now I want to open my pull to failure. Control, set my end of test. Positive 80. Okay, that wasn't a big deal to fix, but it is a big deal. If you're protecting the load cell, you want to make sure you're getting the load in the right direction. So when we go over to the compression tester where we're testing 3-point bending, that's when the load, I think, will go negative when we're compressing it. Okay, so let's go back to test. Again, we're going to start with hysteresis. This is just a test. It's going to want us to rename to test glove 1. That's fine. Okay, again, I'm going to go ahead and reset the gauge length. I think our load is in a good place too, so we're going to go ahead and balance the load. So we start out at 0 extension and 0 load, and we'll start running the test, and we'll watch carefully what happens with the glove. Okay, so it's working as expected. The extension is increasing. The load is increasing. It's going to pull to 4 millimeters, allegedly. Yep, and then it's going to go back. And you can even see this graph showing hysteresis starting to come up. Okay, so that feels pretty good about that one. I think we have a good working hysteresis. I'm hoping that's not too far for the tendons to pull, but I'm going to, at least we'll test the first one and figure that out. Okay, so now I want to test the other methods as well. So I'm going to finish on this. No, I don't want to do another sample. So I'm going to test the stress relaxation. His stuff glove. So I want to change this to stress relaxed glove. And again, we could go ahead and make sure, I'm going to just pull down a little bit or up a little bit to make sure the load. Okay, so I will balance the load, reset the gauge length. So we're starting out at about 0, 0. And let's go ahead and run this. All right, so we're going to pull to 4 millimeters. And there we go, it's holding it at 4 millimeters, and you can see the load dropping off in this graph and in the numbers, as we expect. So this is going to happen for the next 60 seconds or so, so I will fast forward for you really quick. Okay, so the test finished for us. We're done, it seemed to work good. The last one we want to look at is the pull to failure. I am not going to pull the glove to failure because that will make a big loud snap and might do some damage. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it started. Okay, the other button that's interesting here is we can use the return button. And it'll actually, because when I ended that test, I ended it and it was still stretched out at 4 millimeters. And the load is still dropping little by little, right? So I can just hit the return button, and I'll quickly take it down to 0 millimeters and quickly take the load off. Okay, so we have actually stretched out that glove just a little bit. So I'm going to get ready to run this test. Okay, I'm going to get the load right at about 0. I can go ahead and reset the gauge length, balance the load, and I'm going to start this running. Again, I'll stop it prematurely. I just want to make sure it's going to pull in the right direction. Okay, I think we're pretty good. I'm pretty happy it's going to work. I'm not going to test and see if it makes its braking or its load cell braking condition. I'm just going to go ahead and stop the test now. And again, I'll hit this return so it goes back to the original gauge length. And we can finish. Okay, and now we're ready. We have made the test methods, we have validated our test methods with this glove, and now we can go ahead and test our tendons.